This is my continuation of the birds dealing with an urban environment and how difficult it is. And so this is a continuation of that. And I am a scrounger. I am a bird. I'm one that finds things and gleans stuff off of the street. And sometimes if I really break down, I walk into urban ore and find something that nobody else wants. And somebody suggested I work with smaller balls. I've been working with bowling balls for many centuries and many decades at least. And so I've got a few smaller ones happening over there. But yeah, scale is important to me in this show, and that's kind of what I'm looking at here is the smallness, the bigness of this, and then the smallness of the thing behind you. It's like, what's happening here? And I just want people to really think about the small things. Think about the small things in the world. Think about the little things that we are responsible for, keeping going, really, basically. And it's not just us and our egos, although those are very strong and very prevalent. Anyway, geez, anybody have any questions? You had a question. I know. If anybody else does, though.
What inspired you to do all of this?
Well, what inspired me, indeed, was I actually sort of covered it already. I should have done that.
Yeah.
Basically, it was this, this realization that that there won't be an urban environment for birds to take little pieces of and build their nests. And so basically these are weird things, like those are our language. They're building nests with our language that we find. They're building nests with our wine barrel cases, and in that case our bicycle tires. They're building nests with whatever we are giving them, from us to, what's left behind, basically. I mean, they have to scrounge on the street the way I do, so I understand scrounging on the street, and I don't think I'm taking away from birds yet, but, it could happen that I give back to birds. Take these back and, and reconfigure them as your home.
They seem, the birds and the nests, that's what I'm seeing is like these are nests. But the egg is a bowling ball, which is like a very heavy thing.
Well, the bowling ball thing is is sort of my signature item that I discovered, when I was in graduate school years and years ago, and nobody else was working with them. Nobody else liked them. I mean, they were detritus, and I was the sucker for these. I collected 600 of them, and now I have. They're my balls to bear, so to speak. Wait, what was the question? Why are they heavy?
I'm interested in because you're making these nests, and it seems like the bowling ball is the egg.
Yeah, there's a ball.
There's like a contrast between like this delicate egg and this really like mass bowling ball.
Yeah. Well, it kind of has to do with the fact that I'm just honoring what my material. They're my materials. It's like the material that I work with and love and have. It's my palette. It's like, why do you paint? I mean, why do you choose paint over paint? It's not. This is my paint. These are my paints that is what I've chosen to use as a material. So I could put eggs down, and that would have a whole other meaning, real eggs, but I mean, they are symbolic, yeah. And I think that the scale with them, I mean, that's kind of like an omelet size piece. So is that. So they're sort of omelet size. I mean, you look at eggs and you go, how can I eat them? It's like, yeah, and now we wonder if we can even eat eggs with the bird flu that's, do you have a question?
Well, I'm sorry. You didn't draw this, right?
No, that's a photo, there's a photo of that.
Yeah, that's right.
No, so, I mean, it's so, it's just kind of what I work with.
In your
Question
previous,
I'm sorry, go on.
in your previous work, were the bowling balls used for something else? Like now they're used as eggs, but you used them for something else?
I've used them for, I mean, to me, a sphere is kind of a perfect thing to use for, as a symbol of a lot of things. I mean, it's the world, it's the planet, it's, you know, it's your fertility, it's, yeah, well, I guess eggs are fertility, but it's also, you know, they're these dumb objects, you know, what are they doing? Why do we have them? Why do we have so many of them? And, you know, I've been doing sculpture with them for many years. But if you want to see more, you know, grab this, or you know, you can do my QR code if you want to. But there, you know, there's this plenty, and you can like see other stuff, all kinds of other stuff that's there. Yeah, I've been working with them for about 40 years. Is it that many? No, 30. Well, anyway, since 1992. I used them initially as a stand-in for elements that were going to destroy civilization. I did a piece about nuclear waste, and that's how they first started. And I did it in this wonderful place we had at 49 Geary, and it was the Western Union headquarters. And I don't know if anybody remembers that. It was a long time ago, but I put words on them. They said earth, air, water, and fire, and it was really about burying nuclear waste. So I used them metaphorically before I actually used them as, before I just discovered that I just liked them. You know, and they were great. I mean, bowling balls are just something that there's just lots of. I mean, there's that one there I found on the street, and that was, generally I don't, but I found that on the street, and I went, oh, it's like black and white. And you know how you say about black and white and red all over is something that's published, and so it just seemed like a perfect companion with the book piece. You know.
So bowling balls gravitate to you.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing. The gravitational element is something that I work with a lot. I've hung them. In fact, I've hung them here, a whole spiral of them, and they're a little bit scary because people know how heavy they are. But you know, yeah, I like to work with them in a taunting or a tempting gravity, in a gravity tempting way. Yeah, he's a good photographer, and that's why he's like taking weird pictures of me. It's not about yours. Okay.
Never seen bowling balls hanged.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have hung some. I mean, I wanted this room because I thought that possibly I would hang them, and the way that this evolved, I kind of didn't want to do that for some reason. It just didn't make as much sense as that little guy did. But I do. Yeah. I've only done like a half bowling ball once. It was something I dropped out of a window when I was at Berkeley, and I dropped it and it broke in half. And I had half of it sticking in a basketball hoop, and the other half was sort of falling out, stuck to the wall. But that's the only one I ever broke, and they're not easy to break. It has to be very cold. It needs to be winter. But yeah, no, I mean I don't know. It's just one of those things you just get stuck doing in your whole life, and I just haven't. You remember Mercury? It's there. But yeah, it's just something that stuck with me, and I'm committed to it because I've homed them. I mean, I've made a nest for them, for 600 of them over these years, so I can't. I mean, I think I'll spend my life with those 600 bowling balls. I don't know who's going to deal with it. I don't have children. Who's going to have to deal with it besides me when I'm done? But okay.
Have you ever had a gathering of your collection? It would be interesting to see all of them, 600 in a room.
I have a photo of them when I moved. I've only moved studios once since I started collecting bowling balls. But I had them all over the floor, and I definitely have wanted to do that, but it would mean that nobody could. I mean, I figured this was a little daunting about getting people around it, but if they were on the floor, it would have been tougher. But that is something that I have in mind to do.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, because it might like shift, if you see them all together, like.
Yeah,
And then that does definitely speak to, destruction. I mean, that would kind of get to more of that.
Yeah. you know, maybe I will do that sometime, you know, if I have like the corner space back there while the corner's still there. I've been showing in this gallery in different spaces for 18 years, and you know, it's always different, and it's always different depending on who you're showing with and what's happening. You know, so it's yeah. And
One final question. You have sculpture, and you have a photograph of the sculpture.
right.
Can you talk a little bit about your process and why you're doing that?
Okay, well, the reason I was thinking about that was because people like my sculpture, but you know, and I like it too. I don't want this in my house. I don't want any of this stuff in my house. This is like, you know, everybody's got furniture, and as I was saying, sculpture it just doesn't mix well with furniture. So I figured people really like it, and they could see, well, maybe, you know, maybe I could have this strange thing on my wall. And so it was more of a practicality for that, for me. And then I figured out how to put them on panels, which was, you know, a great, so it's actually a thing, you know, that somebody could like own and not be expensive and not take up space. You know, because I mean, I don't have other people's sculpture or my own sculpture in my house, so I understand it, but a lot of it I like, and so here, you know, people can see it and, you know, and have it if they wanted to. So these are for sale. And there's also, and one thing that surprised me, and I always love this, maybe if you could just, I just love sometimes what happens in the space, how the space reacts with the sculpture, and that created incredible shadows, and also I kind of like the idea of playing with the scale. You know, that, you know, I mentioned that already though, so I don't need to mention that again. Anybody else have anything that they want to throw at me or they're burning to ask about? Richie? Sorry, I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Richie? Yes, who's up?
I'm curious, when you go out on your finds, how often do you find things and then collect them and then not actually know what to do with it for a while? Like, is there a period of time where you've collected some things for 3 months and then you know exactly, and then there's some things you've collected for 6 years and you're still not quite clear what to do with? I'm just more interested in that.
That is such a good question, because I have a studio. It's about almost as big as this whole space. It's configured differently, but I do have things that I've had forever, and then I've had things that, you know, they got like a day before the show. And I used to do a lot more street scrounging, and right now I have so much. And I like a lot of this stuff here, like that pile of stuff. An artist in the gallery, Peter Honig, gave me when he moved from Berkeley to Santa Cruz, wherever he moved to, and this is the first time I've used it, and that was probably 16 years ago. You know, so it's just, if I like something, I'll put it in a box and save it, you know, for some special brain process that will turn it into a piece. But anyway, I think we probably are out of time here. Oh, thank you.